So today we're going to be talking about your Google My Business listing and what you need to be doing on an ongoing basis in the Google My Business. Now, this is not one of those things where you set and forget. It's like you set up your Google My Business and you leave it and you never do anything ever again, right? It is a profile that needs to be managed on an ongoing basis. And when you get this right, you will rank. And more importantly, with AI scraping, so with ChatGPT scraping for information right now, and Claude scraping for information, and Gemini, if you get this right, they will actually start to recommend your content, right? So I had a client actually last week say to me, actually it was Nicole. Nicole said one of my mentors, she just got AI just recommended her her business, and it must be because of her landing page on her website. So we need that landing page on our website. And I said to her, it is not just that. It'll be an accumulation of all different things that she was doing in order to get AI to go, yep, you're the authority. I'm going to recommend you. Okay. And this is where people go wrong, because they do one thing, but they don't do the whole thing that needs to be done. And we're going to go through what that whole thing is today. Most important thing to note is we know Google's the #1 search engine, right? And yet people are sitting every single day going, let me spend 10 hours this week on Canva creating content for social media that needs to be created every single day, and then it's gone and you're never going to see it again. Whereas Google, and what you do with Google is literally putting you onto the directory of Google and making you visible. So it is absolutely fundamental that it gets managed. And if you are doing paid advertising or any advertising, Google ads, Facebook ads, any sort of advertising, if you are paying for ads and you are not just doing the foundational basics of your Google My Business management, you are literally paddling against the grain. Like you'll be paddling upriver, right? And then think about all the ad spend that you're going to be wasting. So a lot of the time people will say to me, how come they're getting recommended on AI? How come my competitors are getting recommended and I'm not? This is the reason, right? And just remember, I do want to also say, just remember that YouTube is also Google, okay? But today we're focusing on Google, but a lot of what I'm sharing today is also relevant to how you use YouTube. It is around consistency. Google wants to go, you are consistent and you are relevant. And if you are consistent and you are relevant, it will choose you over everyone else on Google. That is so super important. So today we're going to talk about your Google My Business profile. We will talk about your website pages, blogs, frequently asked questions, the importance of getting reviews on Google, your location settings, your services, setting up your products using SEO, your lead magnets and what to do with them on Google, and reputation management, because they are all part of the one pillar of Google, which is 1 out of 6 that I always talk about. Google is one, and this is what you need to do in order to make sure this one works. Cool. So as I said before, people are always saying, oh, I need an SEO specialist, or I need to rank on Google. I need to fix my website or redo my website. And I'm like, you just need to get this right. You just consistently and with relevancy, you just need to get this thing right, and this will solve it. Google wants to understand, besides the fact that you're consistent and you're relevant, it wants to know who you help, what you do, where you do it, why you are credible, what problems you solve, and what people should do next. So you can understand how you can't manage your Google and then come back to it 6 months later or a year later or 2 years later. It's an ongoing thing. That's why that relevancy and consistency is so important. So we're going to talk about the rhythm, as I said, and for our live audience, for our clients, you guys are actually going to get the checklist as well. So you'll get a weekly and a monthly checklist of what you need to be doing on Google. So I know you're going to be taking notes, which is great, but you are going to get access to all of this as well. So the first thing is that I'm going to give you the strategy today. So the first thing is, who's actually going to implement that strategy? Who's the doer? right? Whoever the doer is, it needs to go into your diary, because if the business owner is doing it, you need to allocate at least an hour a week dedicated towards Google My Business. And if it's the virtual assistant doing it, well, then they need to be dedicating at least an hour a week minimum towards Google My Business, right? So ownership, who's actually going to take ownership of that rule? We know that social media helps people discover you. We know that email marketing is responsible for nurturing to convert. And we know that your sales pages on your website are about taking that sale or taking that lead. But Google is the one that is capturing people who are searching for what it is that you have. So that is how they actually get to you, is through Google. It means that Google is constantly looking for what people have a problem with, and then it's comparing the service providers out there or the product suppliers out there, and it's going, who here am I going to recommend? Who's an expert in this space? Now, in the olden days, everyone used to say search engine optimization, and we spoke about keywords and the words that people use to search for you. And right now, that's exactly what it is. We use that in social media. Use the words that people are using to search for you. Google, use the words that people are using for search for you. So I think that's really important to note. And as before, I've also spoken about answerthepublic.com. So answerthepublic.com is a platform where you can go on for free. I think you can do 2 to 3 searches per day, and you can go onto it and you can put in about a topic and you can see the exact words that people are using in order to search for that content. Okay. So Google needs to be able to understand 100% the problem that you solve for everyone. So it doesn't just need keyword dumping, so you just dumping of keywords into it. Google also needs clarity. It also needs relevancy. It needs trust signals. And that's why that credibility is so important. And it needs consistency. So if you show up and then only show up a year later, they're going to say, we don't actually know that you're a reliable, trustworthy business that's open. So we're going to recommend somebody that's more consistent than you. Because we know that, your future client is searching for content on social media, on Google, in AI, they are searching for content. So it's your job to provide that content. Right. So a good weekly Google visibility system includes, regular Google My Business updates. So we call them updates, but really what they are posts. So those are like weekly posts inside Google My Business. Review requests, so you going and asking for Google review and then responding to those reviews using keywords. Blog and website improvements. The amount of blogs that I see that don't actually have a call to action or a next step is insane. And with blogs as well, we always talk about including that AI summary at the beginning of a blog now so that AI scrapers can find you. Then there's frequently asked questions being added to your website. Having search-friendly content, so content that people are actually searching for in the language that they're searching for it. Local or service-based proof. Clear call to actions. Cool, let's have a look. So depending on your business, your profile may include other services, products, but Google actually just calls it products. Even though you're a service-based business, they'll call it a product, and that's what you'll be updating is your products using keywords or the words that people are using to search for you. Updating your photos, updating videos, your business description, your opening hours, running those updates. Again, they're called updates, but really it's a post. Adding your events to Google so that you're actually listed on a Google directory as an event happening, whether or not it's online or in person, you can still have it on Google. Putting your offers on there. So if you've got any special offers, you can also update your offers on there. Frequently asked questions again, booking links, website links, phone numbers, location, and service areas are all important things that need to be put on Google on an ongoing basis and updated. And this is why it's so important when I say to people, whatever we put on your website as your heading, like your hook, your subheading, and then your credibility statement, there needs consistency then from your social media profiles, your banners, your bios, your about sections. So when Google is looking, it goes, oh my gosh, consistency here, relevancy here. You are strong in the marketplace. Let's refer you. Cool. So setting your location, services, and products properly is just making sure that you've got your right location parameters and your services and products on Google and making sure that they're up to date. So, for example, if you suddenly change your pricing point or you change your avatar, your client avatar, for a while there we used the word marketing doer, and now I don't like that word because the marketing doers is a VA agency and they've got a bad reputation. So now we don't want to use that anymore because we get associated with them. So it's like things may change, which means you've got to go in there and update that language, right? And you don't want to have terms that are too broad because you can understand, like for me, when you say marketing, if you just say marketing, 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 there's so many different forms of marketing. When you're setting up your services and you're creating your service titles, you need to search which words are relevant for you, and it is the word that other people would be searching for. So often people will come to me because they're actually looking for marketing coaching, or often they're looking for a business coach. So I'm going to use those words, even though I'm not that, I'll use that because that's what they're looking for. But then I have a blog that said, what's the difference between a business coach and a marketing coach? And then people go, I actually need you, because they're trying to work out what their offer is. They're actually uncertain on what their offer is. And I help them with their offer. So we've just had Fiona. Fiona just recently, we updated her offer and she sold within 2 weeks of updating her offer. She sold a B2C product, a very expensive B2C product. She sold within 2 weeks of updating her offer because how she was communicating it at first was not accurate enough. So then you've got to go on to Google My Business and update everything. So it's now in alignment with your audience, the problem that you solve, and of course, make sure that all your links to your call to action buttons are working. When you're setting up your location, I target Australasia. I only really want to work the time zones of Australia, New Zealand, Tasmania, like, so that's it. So if you go onto my Google My Business profile, you'll see that as I do Australia, it'll actually draw a big line around it. You will always catch people on the outside. But for me, I'd rather focus on that because I'm already almost full with clients just in Australia and New Zealand. So I don't really need to be going worldwide, right? And then having to deal with time zones. You can use ChatGPT, Claude, whatever AI tool you want to help you determine what your service titles will be. So you can put it into ChatGPT, for example, and say, this is my business, and put the website in. Or if you've done your customization exercise, you'll have your entire avatar done. Put that in and then say, I'm looking for what the best services terms are that my ideal client would be looking for, and it will recommend some terms for you. I think the biggest thing to look at when we're talking about do's and don'ts for Google, and I've got a lot here, is don't try and trick Google. So Google will actually shadow ban you and not allow you to reach more people, and in fact may not even allow posts to be published if you're trying to trick it. So if it's too AI, if it's too keyword heavy, if it has too much SEO in it, and they think that you're just trying to stuff stuff in there to try and get like more visibility, Google will actually stop you from doing that. So try not to trick it. Make sure that your business name is your business name, because it may ask you to actually prove your name at some stage. In saying that, also be aware if your name is associated with your business. So for example, mine is Online Business Marketing with Chantel Girardi. And when we look at Google My Business, it says to us that more people search for Chantel Girardi than they do for Google My Business. You want to make sure that you've got the correct primary categories as well, and then the relevant secondary categories, and some of them are redonkulous, right? Some of the categories, like, you're like, what even is this? It doesn't even work for us. You have to find the ones that are the closest for you to use. So set your service area genuinely in the area that you're trying to actually get people. It likes it when you put your opening hours in it, as well as your holiday hours, as well as your opening date of when you actually opened your business. Put in your phone number, your website link, and your booking links. But it doesn't like you to manually add your mobile number into descriptions. Okay. And again, this is getting done 1st of June today, 2026. Google right now doesn't like mobile numbers being put into the description of an actual post or an actual product update. It'll actually not allow it to work. It's obviously allows you to put in your offers, your programs, your events, your workshops, all your free resources and your lead magnets. I encourage you to put them in, especially if you've worked with me, because we would have given you an SEO title. And when you have an SEO title, for example, how to get hot leads on repeat while you sleep, and you have that, if people searching, how do I get hot leads? My free resource is going to come up. Google's going to recommend it to it. So put your lead magnets in there as well. Make sure that when you list your products, you link those products directly to the website page that it's relevant to. So don't just send all the call to action buttons to the main page of your website. Make sure that if you're talking about apples, then you'd send them straight to the page that is talking about apples on your website. It likes you to have fresh photos, so go in and regularly update your photos. You want real images of your teams, your location, your products, your events, your projects, any client experiences or behind the scene moments. Google loves you getting reviews on an ongoing basis. And it loves clients sharing their wins in those reviews. Always respond to reviews, and we will talk about reputation management soon, but always respond to reviews and use words of what people may be talking about as well. So don't just go, thanks. Thanks, it was really awesome supporting you and your marketing team as a fractional marketing strategist. So just take the time just to mesh it out a little bit, because when you put those words in, again, the little scrapers, it helps the little scrapers. You always want to respond in a warm, specific and professional way. You can, when you're doing your Google updates, you can share your blogs, offers, and your events, as well as if you've got any frequently asked questions, because Google loves frequently asked questions. Let's have a look. Okay, use the correct buttons. So you'll notice that when you're posting, there's actually a specific button, and you can use call to action words. So call now, learn more, book or sign up, instead of just stuffing it into the actual description. Google doesn't like that. It wants you to use the call to action button. So use, as I said, use the phone. There is a phone number button. So use that if you want people to call you, but don't put the mobile number in the description. Google doesn't like that. And do not stuff keywords in or overuse AI, because Google just goes, nah, I'm not going to use it. So in fact, I always say do one final edit yourself and just kind of mesh it out a little bit so it sounds more like you, less like AI. Only list services that you actually do. But that's a bit of a gray area, because sometimes, for example, if you're a myotherapist, a person may be searching for remedial massage. And even though you call that service myotherapy, people may be searching for remedial massage. So you might still want to use that term. So it's a little bit of a gray area there. Do not use fake reviews, paid reviews, or reviews from people that have not genuinely worked from you. I know sometimes if I'm at an event and I try to get people, like say there's 20 people in a room, and I say, please all leave me a review, because they're leaving it all at the same time, Google thinks that you're doing something ridiculous. So I often say to people, don't, like, it sounds terrible, but spread them out a little bit. Try and do some today, some tomorrow, some the next day, which can be hard, especially if you're doing an event. Do not offer incentives or discounts in order to get reviews. It isn't the way that you communicate that. You're not allowed to ask for a favorable review. You are allowed to ask though for a review, but you're not allowed to ask for a favorable review because that's like forcing a favorable review, right? Yeah, do not copy and paste the exact same review response every time. So again, Google doesn't like it if you're using the same response all the time. And it doesn't like low quality images, misleading or irrelevant photos that get added. So what I've noticed is sometimes if we use stock free images or if they look too AI generated, sometimes Google doesn't allow us to actually post those. Now, one of the biggest things that can happen is Google will not allow you to make false promises. And in its mind, it's a false promise. So, for example, we had a personal trainer who said, do tricep kickbacks. So, with a dumbbell, a tricep kickback, and you will develop nice toned arms. And Google would not allow her to post that because she was promising that if you do that, you'll get toned arms. Now we know that if you do that and you do it enough, you will get toned arms. But Google did not. But Google wouldn't allow her to post it. So you've got to be very careful not to use promotional hype words. You cannot you can't say things like the number one or guaranteed results or best in Australia unless you can back it up properly. So if it's not allowing you to post content, have a look at it and go, have I perhaps said like made a false promise in here? Like could they portray that as a false promise? All right, so let's talk about reviews. So if Google and AI scrapers are crawling around and they're looking for businesses to refer people to, reviews are a very important part of that. And of course, we need reviews for social media, for email marketing, for running events. You need that as credibility. But Google and getting them on Google is so, so, so important. I am going to say that when you do get them on Google, please screenshot them and keep them in a folder because we lost our OBMHub Google account probably a couple of weeks ago. I've just set up a new Google account and now we're back to zero reviews. So we're going to have to go and set it all up now and go back to our clients and ask for reviews. But at least if you have screenshotted them, at least you can still use them for social media posting. So make sure that you do actually have all your reviews screenshotted, especially the good ones. So getting reviews is really, really good. When you ask for a review, you want to make the request really easy and you want to give clients helpful prompts. So if you say, please leave me a review and you say nothing else, they might go, hey, that was great. All right. That's not a great review for us to use. So Sarah from Sales Insights Academy, they had an event recently and she asked me to go and interview people to get reviews. So probably in the last 2 months, I've probably done about 4 businesses at the moment where they specifically are asking me to do it. So Hunter Valley last week, they've got a video like team who are doing all the reviews. And the owner of the company, he said to me, Chantel, you know what we want people to say that we can use in marketing. So can you ask them questions that are going to get them to say the things that we need to use in our marketing, right? For reviews. So when you ask for reviews, think about what objections do we need to handle on social media? What are people searching for? How can I prompt the person to actually say some of those things? All right. And there are some really good ways as well. You might say, could you talk about, I really appreciate it if you could leave me a review so I can help more people like you, because then people feel like they're being a good Samaritan. And then the other thing is it would be awesome if you mentioned what you were struggling with when you came to me, what you found that I did that was different to everybody else, and some of the successes that you've achieved now and the confidence it's given you. If you could mention some of that, people go, ooh, okay, now that you've given them just 3 dot points to kind of talk about, they find it easier to actually now leave you a review. Okay, so if we use Diane's business, for example, where she's got accommodation in Sydney or just outside of Sydney or Central Coast, Sydney, I think, and she's got dog friendly and horse friendly accommodation. You don't want somebody saying, "Oh, I had a really nice stay." You want someone to say, "It was awesome that I was able to bring my horse with me and on a holiday, and I was able to like ride the horse on the beach whilst being on holiday. And it was really awesome being able to bring our dog with us." So you want to just make sure that you're getting that language, because that's the language that's going to help Google identify who you are, how you help people, and put you in front of the right people. So reputation management, and there are some companies that you can buy, like you can pay for reputation management. So for example, Trusted Advisor is one of those. If you have High Level or OBMHub, which is our high level product, they have a reputation management system in place. So with reputation management, in OBMHub, in High Level, there's this thing where you can actually set it as a trigger. So it can actually automatically, if you've got a client that gets onboarded, when a client gets to a certain stage with working with you, it can take people into an automation, automatically send them either an email or an SMS, and it can ask them to leave you a review. And you can even say, prompt them with the 3 things that you would like, right? Prompt them with like the 3 things that you would like in there for them to mention. So, and then it can track whether or not it's actually left the review or not left the review. So it can follow up, and it can actually respond using SEO to the actual review as well. And once you set that up, then it can automatically do that. So that at least you've got a system in place for getting reviews and responding reviews. Like anything that's automated, you do need somebody keeping an eye on it, right? Making sure that it's okay. We still check our responses and make sure that we're happy with them. Cool. So that is OBMHub and how that does that. So let's talk about blogs for a bit. We're not going to go too much into it because there is a whole masterclass where we spoke about SEO blogs and repurposing blogs. But when you create your blog, putting it onto your Google My Business account is one of the things that you need to be doing. Because if you're creating a blog that has an SEO title that helps your ideal client solve a problem, you're now putting it into Google. You're now linking it back to your website. It's now also going up as a LinkedIn article. It's now going out in your email newsletter. It's also going out on social media. Hey, I just did a blog on this topic. Come back to us. So you're taking one piece of SEO content, putting it everywhere, and Google's going, "Oh my gosh, you are so relevant. You're so consistent. And whoever does it best gets the client," right? Cool. So blogs are all about solving a problem for your ideal client. So when you get that right and it's not fluffy, Google loves that because that's relevancy, and it's relevancy on your website, it's relevancy on Google. So then let's talk about frequently asked questions. So frequently asked questions on your website, and even on Google is so important, because if AI scrapers are out there and if Google is busy scraping and looking for it, and you go, how to get better results on Google without paying for ads, and you've got that as a topic, Google's now going to find you and go, "This is what people are actually searching for." So frequently asked questions are absolutely fundamental to have on your website. Not going to go too much into it again, but that helps with your Google ranking and your Google listing, so it all works as a marketing ecosystem. You want to consider what your potential clients are asking for help with. So, for example, with Diane, it might go dog-friendly accommodation in Sydney, right? Horse-friendly accommodation in Sydney. So it's the words that people would be searching for in order to be able to find what it is that you're doing. So some other frequently asked questions could be, how much does it cost for a marketing coach? How long does it take to get results in your marketing? Do I really need to get a marketing VA? What is included when I buy this program? What happens after I book? Can I use OBMHub if I'm non-techie? Okay. What makes us different? Can I do it by myself? What support do you offer? So these are all just an example of some frequently asked questions that you might start to create content on. So every week, your marketing manager could be collecting real questions from sales calls, from emails, from DMs, from Facebook group, like people who are asking in Facebook groups for help, comments, discovery clause when you're working with clients, in the reviews, webinars and in webinar chats, in your podcast interviews, customer service conversations. All you have to do is take those transcriptions, put them into AI and go, can you help me create some frequently asked questions to use for my business to be able to support my Google ranking? Right. With AI tools scraping for content right now, fluffy is just not going to cut it, right? When we say things like unlock your true potential, and I use this one all the time as an example, I could be a personal trainer, I could be an accounting coach, I could be a MMA fighter, I could be a breathwork facilitator, I could be a kinesiologist, I could be a salesperson, you could be anything. So unlock your true potential doesn't cut it. So when you're using AI and it's giving you these things, you have to put on your hat and go, is this actually effectively communicating what I do to my ideal audience? And there's absolutely no confusion at all of who it is that I help and how I help them. So when using AI, it's really important. So when you come up with your hooks, when you come up with your key messages, you come up with your keywords and your titles, you cannot be fluffy because you're just not going to you're not going to cut through. You're not going to be found. So if your online presence is confusing, if it's outdated, if it's general or just, fluffy, AI is just not going to be able to find you because you're not strong enough in those words. I'll use Sarah as an example because we did her audit last week and, her husband had one banner, she had another banner, the title was different to the Instagram, to the website, to the Facebook, and everyone is like that when I start with them. So it's not just Sarah, she just comes to mind. But when you've got your hook and your subheading and you've worked on it and it's SEOable and you know that is stopping the right person, you have to make sure that in all your platforms it is the same. So when Google AI is looking for you, it goes, I'm looking for you and I found you and you are strong in the marketplace and you are consistent and you will then be recommended. So you need to be clear on these things, and I'll say them again. Who you are, what you do, who do you help, where do you operate, what problems do you solve, what services or products do you offer, what makes you different, what proof do you have, what questions do you answer well, what topics are you known for, what do other people say about you, where else are you mentioned online? So my other question is, have you ever Googled yourself? So Google yourself personally and then Google your business as well. And it's better to do it on someone else's laptop because if it's on your laptop and you've been working on your business, you come up well. All your stuff comes up because it's your algorithm and your computer. So try and search it from someone else's laptop. Because marketing is not about what you do that's the same as everyone else. It's what you do that's different. So getting your keywords is absolutely paramount. So use consistent language across all the platforms, so important. Making sure that your banners, your bios, your about sections, in social media, Google, website, everything is the same. So when I come here, you are saying this. When I go there, you are saying this. It's exactly the same everywhere. Start to build your third-party mentions. So, for example, if you get on other people's podcasts, for example, someone might search Sarah. They'll find Sarah or Sales Insights Academy online, and Sarah, because she did a podcast with me, she's now coming up. Sarah and Chantel, we did a podcast. Now they're going to click through to me, and now they're going to find my content. So you want third-party mentions. So one of the six things I always talk about. Today we're speaking about Google. The other one is partnerships, right? And partnership is co-blogging, co-podcasting, even entering awards. I got a lead from a lady called me the one day, and I said, "Where'd you find me?" And she goes, "Oh, you won an award at the Osmompreneur Awards, and your name was mentioned on their website, and I found you on their website, and I thought, oh, marketing coach, great." And she found me that way. So, so that's just another one. If awards are mentioning you as well, you just want to have other people mentioning you, so it's not just you mentioning you as well. Update your Google My Business on a weekly basis, get those reviews, do the frequently asked questions, make sure that your services and your locations are all set up properly. And that's going to tick your Google boxes round. Right. I put this in here as well because it's really important. If marketing is living inside the business owner's head, and if the virtual assistants are not able to effectively communicate who you are and what you do, it's going to be very difficult for them to be doing your Google My Business profile. So if you haven't already, make sure that you've done your marketing handbook, make sure that you've done your custom AI customization, because it can help support the virtual assistants. So I love to use Claude as an example because he's with Beams and Timber. He's from the Philippines, and he works for a company that does fencing, right? Agricultural fencing with horses and animals and whatever. And Claude knows nothing about fencing when he started. He knows a lot now, but when he first started, how's he going to know about contractors contractors who actually come to the company and work with the company to actually be able to use their fencing, so he's had to learn all of that as well. So I think it's really important. I wanted to bring it up. If marketing lives in your head, it's very hard for virtual assistants to be good virtual assistants and manage your marketing. So make sure that you do have those source documents in place to go, these are our words, this is what we use, this is our ideal client, and have a conversation with them around, do you understand how it is? Because culturally things are different as well. So you do need to have a content bank somewhere, whether or not it's a marketing handbook, an AI customization, something so that they can at least use that as a starting point to better understand your business and what it is that you do. Cool. So in summary, who's going to do it and is it in your diary? Okay, who's doing it and is it in the diary? Number one. Number two, the weekly checklist. And as I said, for our clients, you guys will be getting that on Thursday. But we have already mentioned a few things that you need to do on an ongoing basis. So for now, just go and audit it until you get the weekly, monthly checklist on Thursday. And number three is make sure that you've got a content bank. And when we talk about that, a marketing handbook so that your key words are in there. So there's consistency in your messaging and your avatar. Number four is getting reviews and having a review system in place. How are you getting those reviews and how are you responding to those reviews? And then the fifth one is your call to actions. What is your pathway to be able to get those leads? Is it sending them to a website sales page? Is it sending them to a blog that then has a book a call? Is it sending them to a lead magnet, which is then book a call? Is it sending them to a webinar, which is set up as an event in Google My Business, which is then comes to a registration? What is the pathway, the call to action of being able to capture that lead as well? So Google is not just Google on its own. You've got your Google Search Console, you've got Google Analytics, and then you've got your Google My Business profile as well. So Google Analytics, if you haven't got that set up already, you should have that set up on your website, so that's something else. And you can go back and watch a training. There is a training on it. So if you go to onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au/freebies/Google Analytics, there is a training on that you can go and reference. And then there's your Google Search Console as well. So again, if you have no idea what this is, go and learn it. It is just a skill gap. Go to YouTube, search Google Search Console in 2026, find one that a lot of people are looking at and go and learn it. Because Google is the #1 search engine. And if you've got a skill gap, close it. Just like I said, project management system, I've got to get better at it. So I'm doing training this week on it. I'm not immune from it. I'm a business owner. I've also got to upskill. Cool. So that's it. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe and turn on your notifications. If you could leave us a comment below, that would be epic as well. If you've got an idea for a piece of content that you'd like us to produce, put in the comments below or send me a private message on Chantel Girardi on Facebook. And now we're going to go to our live audience where we're going to go and discuss what they've learned, what they're going to implement, and how they're going to take over Google World.